If you're wondering which is the better Inferno Tower setting on defense, single target versus multi-target, we're going to take a look at the benefits of running either one. Let's jump in. So when it comes to the Inferno Tower setting, there's a few different things to consider. One of the main things, which we'll take a look at some examples in this video, is what kinds of troops can each Inferno Tower take down? And that's going to be the biggest thing to look at. You want to keep an eye on your defenses and know what your opponents are using on you the most, and then try to counter that with the best Inferno Tower setting. Now, there is one that is just overall better than the other, which is the multi Inferno Tower. I do believe that overall the multi is best. So if you're going to run all of your Inferno Towers on one setting, multi is going to be the best and safest way to go. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't ever run single target Inferno Towers, but we'll talk about when and why that might be a good idea. But we'll go ahead and take a look at an example of why the single Inferno might not be the best idea. So obviously, one of the major downfalls for the single target Inferno Tower is that it can only target one thing at a time, which means any small troops like the witches or the miners or even the furnaces can easily overwhelm the single Inferno. As you can see here, it goes down very easily. And then the other thing to consider is it's not just the little troops that can take over the single Inferno, especially at lower town hall levels. You've got the bat spells, which can come in and easily take down singles that aren't sufficiently protected. And then at pretty much any town hall level, people like to bring skellies for different strategies, and the skelly spells can also overwhelm a single Inferno, which again is not sufficiently protected. Now, there are some things that you can do to mitigate the weakness of the single target Inferno Tower, and that's going to come in the way of base design. So you can protect the single Infernos with splash damage, which is going to help make sure that it's not so easy for these little troops to take over. However, they can still get easily overwhelmed by groups of troops. Even groups of big troops like dragons can get in there and just overwhelm the single Inferno. So it does have its weaknesses pretty significantly, although if you can get a well-built base with a single Inferno that's not easy to reach, as long as things aren't directly targeting it and it's protected against things like bat spells and skelly spells, then a single Inferno can get a lot of good value if it hits big troops like electro dragons, or if it hits big tanky units like your heroes, then it can do some good work. But the multi Inferno Tower shines because regardless of anything that the attacker does, the multi is still going to be able to get some damage in. Now, the multi Inferno has the benefit where it can hit multiple troops at the same time, obviously, and it's always going to be doing damage. However, it's not going to do as much damage as the single Inferno target does. So it can take down the witches, but it's going to struggle against big tanky troops like the Electro Dragon. We'll be able to see how much damage it's able to get onto the Electro Dragon here, just a 1v1, and it's not going to be a whole lot. The Electro Dragon takes it out relatively easily there. And then of course the multi also doesn't have to worry about things like the skelly spells or the bat spells. It can sufficiently take care of all these. We can even drop in the bat spells. It might be able to overwhelm with all the troops that are here, but I mean, they're not even getting a shot in. Now, this isn't to say that the single Inferno is bad and you should always use the multi. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you should be aware of the weaknesses and the strengths of each of these towers. Now, we drop in a group of dragons. The nice thing is you'll notice that the dragons will all take some damage. However, they're able to get through the multi relatively quickly. Now, let's take a look at some bases and some real examples of these in practice. So let's say you're a Town Hall 10 or a Town Hall 11. What modes should you run your Inferno Towers on? Now, because of what I've shown already, you should not run both of your Inferno Towers on single mode. The best way to do it is either have them both on multi or have one on multi, one on single. I like the one on multi, one on single setup. And when you do have one on single, you want to make sure that there's something around that can help protect against like bat spells, for example, or skelly spells. So we've got to help protect against any like massive amounts of ground troops. We got the wizard tower here. That's also going to help it protect against bats. And then we got the bomb tower here. That's going to help protect against anything on the ground to, you know, prevent it from overwhelming the single Inferno. So it has its proper protections. And to make it even better, it should be in range of the Expo that's on air and ground. So if I were to make this base a little bit better, I would take this Expo and swap it with the Archer Queen. So if we do that, I think this is going to make the base better. And then you've got even more coverage for that single Inferno. So that's going to help out quite a lot. So you've got your single Inferno sufficiently protected against its weaknesses, and that's going to help out quite a bit, especially since attackers against a base like this, they're going to be going more towards the Town Hall. That's going to leave this single on the back end, and it's going to get even more time to take its time and pick off big tanky troops. So if you are Town Hall 12 and higher, you have 3 Inferno Towers, and obviously 3 singles or even 2 singles is not going to be the ideal situation. The most meta setup at the moment is just going to be triple multi to try to get as much damage out of them as possible. But we'll take a look at an example as well of running 2 multis and 1 single, because there are still bases in the meta that do run 1 single Inferno. So on this base, it would be tempting to turn this multi to single, but the problem with that is you're not getting the boost from the Rage Tower. So when you've got these Rage Towers paired up with the multi Inferno Towers, they do a lot of damage, especially triple multi in the core with 2 Rage Towers stacked in here. That's going to be a lot of damage coming in, and that's why the multi Inferno is such a big part of the meta right now, especially because you got all 3 of these. They can each target a number of troops per Inferno Tower, and then you got all 3 stacked together with the Rages. That's just a lot of damage in the core. Even though it doesn't do as much damage as the single, it's still hitting a lot of troops for a lot of DPS. So I made a few tweaks on this base to make this a good single Inferno base. Now we have that point damage. Now when people attack this base, they usually either come from the left or the right. Sometimes they'll come from the top left to try to go straight at the Town Hall. In any case, very seldom do people come in from down here, and if they do, it's probably the RC charge. So I'd probably change the traps just a little to try to help protect against that. But the idea is you're trying to get it to where people are coming and leaving this on the back end. So you've got the monolith here, the Expos, and then you got that single Inferno, which is protected on both sides. It's got both Expos. Even though the Expos don't do splash, because they fire so quickly, they still effectively protect the Inferno Tower, especially when it's on when you've got 2 of them there. So that works out quite well for that. And again, the 2 scatters in the core, and then we're not losing the DPS in the core by moving the multi away. So now we have the gear tower that's going to get raged up by that left Rage Tower, and it's also going to be able to get the advantage of that boosted DPS. So we're not really losing out on too much by taking the multi out of there. We'll still get the boosted damage. So on most bases, if you're building a base for yourself, you're going to want to basically keep them on multi Inferno Tower. But if you have the right setup, you can also do 1 single Inferno, but I don't recommend doing more than 1 single, no matter what Town Hall level you are at. That's going to do it for this video. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, be sure to comment down below. And if you want to see any more Clash of Clans content from me, I recommend checking out one of these videos right here.